Okay, hey guys, it's late at night right now, but I just wanted to record a random video talking about perfectionism and why it's a double-edged sword. So, for me personally, I'm like very much a big perfectionist. It's interesting because it's like on one hand, I feel like without perfectionism, maybe I wouldn't have gone so far, but at the same time, having perfectionism is something that I think sometimes makes the creative process a little bit more painful than you want it to feel. So in this video, anyways, I just wanted to talk about perfectionism and like its pros and cons, what I think about it. Just like my experience with it overall. And you guys can also comment below whether you have ever struggled with perfectionism. So pros of perfectionism, the first one is I think it like pushes you to not settle for good and always go for great, which is definitely a big thing in art, especially if you're trying to make like a masterpiece. You want to always go for the great, right? If you're like actually trying to make something that's like really insane. Obviously, everyone has their own different goals overall. But that's one of the big pros of perfectionism. And another like pro of perfectionism, I'd say overall, is that it makes you always want to improve and not be complacent, which is like a really big thing. If you're trying to reach heights, you obviously should always be trying to improve, even if it's little by little, because like over time that adds up quite a lot. It's like droop, kind of like a compound effect over time as you learn more and more things. It's just like a really big thing, I would say, overall. So yeah, it makes you always want to improve and not be satisfied. And I think, I don't know, I just think it's like really good for that overall. There's also some other pros of perfectionism. Like one other one I'd say is it makes it really satisfying when you complete something that's like really good and blows everyone away. I'd say there's that too. That's another pro. I just really like depends on like what type of person you are though. If you're someone who never like shares anything with anyone, then maybe you won't struggle with this as much, um, because you're not really as caring about like the external validation of it. I would say overall. So yeah, that's just another interesting thing. Mm, I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, I guess we can move on to cons now. So first con of perfectionism, I would say, is that mentally it can cause a soft form of burnout at times. Basically, what I mean by that is, you're always just trying to make everything as good as possible, and you don't. It when you're starting out with art, you have this like joy of creativity. I mean, I still have it to this day, obviously, that joy of creativity, but it's like once you become a perfectionism, once you go once you become a perfectionist. Sorry, it's like 12 a.m. right now, but yes, once you become a perfectionist, you can start to get into this mindset of like everything I touch has to be gold, and like it all just has to be perfect. We can't mess this up, and you kind of like restrict yourself a bit from just being like super loose, going on like a drawing tablet and just like doodling all over the place. I don't know. Sometimes you get like scared to also like post your stuff ever because it's like you've built a reputation of doing like amazing things, and now you don't want to post like just like some doodle or sketch or something like that. So yeah, that's a con of perfectionism overall, I'd say. Um, Another con, I mean, I kind of touched on this, but it can sometimes make the artistic process less fun overall. That's definitely a thing. If you're someone who's not like as much of a perfectionist, you don't really care as much about the quality of what you make, and you just kind of like jump in and have fun with it, then it's going to be overall a pretty fun process. But if you're like me and you're like always just like really thinking, I need to make this as good as possible, it can make the process a bit straining on your head. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess that's just like how it is though. If you're going for some type of greatness, you have to be more focused, I'd say overall. So I these are pros and cons, but I guess like in a way it's just a trade off, like how many things in life are. If you want something, you might have to sacrifice something else. I guess it's like that. Um, Now one other con I'd say, is that sometimes it makes you spend more time on a project than you should have, trying to like save it after it's already like dead. This happens sometimes where you'll be making a project and it's like you sometimes you'll like get to the end of it or like towards the end of it and you realize it just didn't really go as planned. That's just a natural thing that happens to everyone sometimes. Not everything you make will always go as planned, especially if you're trying to push to the next level, because you have to take risks to make something that's like outside of your comfort zone, right? Which inevitably can result in you making some work that isn't like you don't like it as much in the final result. If you're a perfectionist, though, what you'll do is you'll try to like save it and like waste all this extra time when it's like really you should just cut your losses, move on to the next project, and take what you learned from that previous one, that previous project into the next piece that you make. Because inevitably, when you fail, you always learn new things. It's like it's never really actually a loss, which is interesting. It feels like a loss and it like sucks at the time, if you're a perfectionist and you make something that you feel like wasn't that good, but it's like you always learn so much from those failures that it's like the good times that then come later are they were kind of like dependent on like failing on those times in the first place in a weird way, sometimes. So yeah, I would say overall those are my pros and cons for perfectionism. I'm definitely a perfectionist. I will be until the day I die, probably, at least like to a degree. I'm not saying I'll always be like super hardcore about it, but generally I am definitely always going to be like some type of a perfectionist because I feel like it's just having that type of mindset of like I have to do this great, I have to do this great. It's like an important mindset to have if you're trying to make something amazing. Of course, you have to realize what the downsides of it are, though, and try and prevent that. Like, for example, when you see a project is just like something that you should just like move on from, you have to like actually train your mind to just like push past the perfectionism, cut your losses, and move on. You also have to understand how to deal with burnout because sometimes that can happen. Thankfully, I actually don't get burned out much anymore. Like obviously, once in a while, if I work too much, then I will. But I mean, overall, things have felt a lot better for me, I'd say, in recent times. So that's good at least. But yeah, either way, inevitably, we all have bad times in our head sometimes, whether it be from art or work or like whatever else, life in general, whatever life throws at you. But yeah, that's all I would say in this video. And have a great night or day wherever you are, guys.